Hi, Texas Assisted Living Association members. It's Jennifer FitzPatrick. Thanks again for having me speak at your conference. One of my sessions was entitled Difficult and Challenging Residents and Families. Standing room only, because that was probably one of the ones that resonated with you, all of you who deal with those who are difficult to please, difficult to serve. And it often feels like those folks take up most of our time. The important thing to remember is there is a formula on how to make working with them a little bit less challenging. So the ABCs, A being acknowledge who you're dealing with. Now, we talked about it in this session. Really, most of our residents fall into that usually reasonable category. They want you to please them. They want you to do well. Think about when you go to a restaurant. You want the service to be good. If you're a reasonable person, you want the service to be good, you want the food to be good, you want it to be a good experience. Most of your residents and family members fall into that category. But on the other hand, there are a very small number who are just going to be pleased and not cause a stir, not be a squeaky wheel, no matter what, very small percentage. And then you got a little bit more of a percentage on the other end that I like to call the always difficult. And these folks are typically always difficult because something's going on with them, whether they have a substance abuse problem, whether there's a mental health issue like depression or anxiety, or maybe even bipolar schizophrenia. But one that's often not talked about is the personality disorders like narcissistic, borderline, dependent, histrionic. There's a lot of personality disorder traits, paranoid, that can cause folks to be always difficult, or more often than not, they're going to be difficult to work with. So I want you to keep your eyes open for the traits that we talked about during that session. And if you want more information about that, or you want to come to some additional classes, just reach out to me and I'll point you in the right direction of some free resources. But you want to be acknowledging who you're dealing with. If you're dealing with somebody that falls into one of those always difficult categories, you need to remember that you're probably going to have more boundaries around that person, working with that person, setting more limits for that so they can't push through. But also you and your staff need to really be collectively working as a team to serve that individual or that family so that they don't split you apart. The other piece is be who you say you're going to be. When all of us are who we say we're going to be, whether you're a senior living community or you're a hotel, you're going to have less problems from all of those categories. And what do I mean by that? If you go to a hotel and you're expecting it to be the Ritz-Carlton, you're paying Ritz-Carlton prices, you go to the Ritz-Carlton and you are getting a really subpar experience, that's going to lead the most reasonable person to behave in a difficult way. And never mind the folks that are always difficult, they're really going to be upset. On the other hand, if you claim to be a Ritz-Carlton type of senior living community and your website states that, and the service is like that, and the food's like that, and the service is like that, and you are who you say you're going to be, you're going to be less likely to have complaints even from the always difficult folks. Now, on the other hand, it's okay if your senior living community is the version of Motel 6 or Marriott Courtyard, all that's fine. But just be who you say you're going to be, because when expectations are out of whack, no matter what category your resident or family falls into, you're going to have some challenges. And then the last part of the C's, the ABCs, is C, you want to cultivate a culture in your organization, you as a leader, or if you're an individual contributor, where you're reducing the stress. You have to remember that every single interaction that you have with a resident or family member either increases their stress or it reduces their stress. Now, I know that everybody knows that when you smile, that's more likely to decrease stress. When you say hello, when you see a resident or a family member, decrease stress. When you put somebody on hold for a really long time, if they call on the phone, it's probably going to increase stress. So get back to the basic customer service principles. If you're a leader in your organization, don't assume that your team knows how to do all of these. They might know them, but they might not be practicing them, or they might genuinely not know that these basic customer service principles have a de-escalating power. So the ABCs, acknowledge who you're dealing with, be who you say you are, and do everything you can to cultivate a culture of reducing stress with every small interaction. And if you want more information on how to do that, some free resources, feel free to reach out to me at generationshealth.com or jenniferfitzpatrick.com. It was a pleasure working with you at Kalahari in April, and I hope to connect with you all very soon.